Your clothes are sending a message, whether you like it or not, before you even realize it. How do you be powerful and also feel like you can be feminine or beautiful in a way that feels authentic to you? Black puts up walls. Color creates connection. The reason why business casual feels hard is because there is no real definition for it. When you have your own brand and your own aesthetic, you don't care what everyone else is wearing. You're wearing the right thing for you.
Welcome to Loud and Lifted, the show where we turn career volume up without turning ourselves down. I'm your host, Betsy Ham. Today, I sit down with Melanie Lippman, image strategist, executive presence whisperer, and the woman who will politely pry the black boxy blazer from your "I'm being appropriate" hands. She unpacks how we have to build our brand before our closet. And no, this doesn't mean you have to go on a major shopping spree. Sorry. We discuss your Zoom presence and map Melanie's style code so you know exactly what to wear, whether it's in a boardroom or just in the office. This isn't about being cute, buying expensive clothes, or even being on trend. It's about being credible, consistent, and magnetic, and using your clothes as a tool to do so. Melanie Lippman, welcome to Loud and Lifted. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited about this conversation, and I'm also very excited about your blue blazer, but we'll get into that in a minute because I want to read for our listeners. The best intro to you is your headline on your LinkedIn. You weren't made to blend in. I help women in male-dominated industries ditch the corporate armor, build an unapologetic personal style brand that commands authority, power dressing, leadership presence. That's amazing. How in the world did you get into this job?
So interestingly enough is I worked corporately for about 10 years. I was in the fine jewelry industry, and most people don't know that the fine jewelry industry is run by, men in gray hair and navy blue suits. And even though I was born and raised in the fashion industry and was always obsessed with personal style and what was going on, I found myself in this place where I was dressing to prove. So working in luxury, really high end, I was always the shortest woman in the room, usually the only woman in the room, and typically the youngest person in the room. And I would find myself before all of these major trade shows or major meetings in this like shopping frenzy. And my shopping frenzy was really expensive because I worked in luxury. So like it included Chanel bags and like like I went into serious debt trying to look the part. And that didn't feel good. But not only did that not feel good, I had my boss one day. We were in a meeting. We were planning for our huge trade show every year. And she made this comment to me of like, nice, like clothes and all, but why don't you try being more you? And I walked out of her office, like literally like the wind got knocked out of me. Because number one, I thought I was doing this really good performative job of wearing all the right things. And I was spending all of this money. And the idea of why don't you be more you, like it really hit me because I'm sure like most of us, I was in my mid 20s, like I didn't know who I was. I thought I did, like on paper, but like every single thing that I thought did was probably my parents' and society's idea.
Sure.
When it came to like politics, religion, what I thought, what I ate, like who I was supposed to marry, like all of those things. I didn't know who I was. So like the clothes and this thing that I thought I was being so self-expressive and someone saying to me, why don't you be more you? And I'm like, huh? It really like got me. So that's where like my journey to like figuring out who I was through my wardrobe really started. And I then, started to experiment and figured out what I liked. And then I had a really amazing opportunity when my son was born. I tried staying in corporate and, being at Fashion Week when your kid's taking his first steps is not really a fun thing. So I took a step back from my corporate career and then found myself in my friends' closets putting together outfits. and then started working with women in male dominated fields, and then had that whole situation happen all over again, where these women were being very performative, dressing from the shoulds of this is what success looks like. And I'm like, this feels familiar. So, what I really realized is my mission in life is to show women how to be more themselves in all aspects of their life, but through the lens of their wardrobe.
I love that. And you're right. I mean, pretty much all of us are in male dominated industries. So when you look around, what majority they're wearing, we don't really want to wear black suits or just white button down shirts. And when you're young, you're not really sure like how to balance that. Am I professional? Am I fitting in? I don't want to stand out too much. I'm just going to keep buying everything that's black. Seems very neutral. So when somebody comes to you, like what's the first step? How do you even go down this journey?
When we were all 7 years old, we didn't give a crap what anyone thought of us, right? So if we like step into that energy of whatever you enjoyed either wearing or doing or being, I tap into that because what I found through this work, so besides being an image coach and working in the wardrobe aspect, one of the other things that I did is I got a neuro coaching certification. So I realized that a lot of the way that we dress and the reason why women we took these roles in male dominated fields is because it's very much in line with our behaviors of being a good girl and doing the right thing and success is this, so we need to prove ourselves and da 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 da. So like the clothing probably was something that came up over and over again throughout our childhood, our upbringing, middle school, high school, our first job, that we were always trying to square peg round hole
Sure.
and prove. So my first step is to help my clients figure out what they actually really like, because they haven't taken or they haven't done that since they were 7,
Right.
of really figuring out like what makes me feel good. What can I wear that activates something inside of my personality? What is the things that excite me when it comes to showing up? What messages do I want to send? And you'll see all of these things are like feeling things and who I be things, not anything to do with proving or what's expected of me. So I help them go back and figure out what about style or clothes. And sometimes we have to not even talk about clothes because it's so sensitive, just about aesthetic or what things or values you like, to help them figure out who they are. And then slowly, in a way that feels safe, start to integrate parts of that into their wardrobe. So it doesn't feel like all of a sudden they're showing up as a different person or feeling like, is this too much? Is this a lot? But really slowly integrating certain aspects of them into their wardrobe and how they're showing up.
That's so interesting going back to when you were little. And as you were saying that, I'm picturing my daughters who are teenagers, but when they were 7 or probably even younger than that, the way that they like to dress up and show up was in the little Cinderella dresses and the costumes. And they'd put on these, Disney character dresses and they were like unstoppable, their confidence level and just their, excitement to go out and run errands at Target with a Cinderella dress on. So it's funny thinking back to that from their perspective. I can't really think about that quickly on my own, but just it was that how they showed up and how they felt. Now, teenagers are not rocking any Cinderella dresses.
Nope. But interestingly enough, a lot of the journey that happens within my clients that work in male dominated fields is finding their femininity.
Oh,
Because if they've been shown or thought or came up with this concept that being a female in a male dominated world is not safe.
mm,
And
fair.
so I need to cut parts of myself off to look and act like I belong in this room that wasn't potentially made for them, where I then, get to show them and through conversations is that they're different leaders than their male counterparts. And how can they soften some of the things that they're wearing as opposed to leading with that aggression and that fierceness? And so and this is why every single journey with all of my clients are different, because this is not my idea. It's their idea and I'm
Sure.
the guide. But a lot of what my clients crave is being more feminine through their wardrobe. And it's interesting because most people have that princess play or this is what pretty, because
Mm,
again, a message of you can't be both smart and pretty has been
right.
put into someone's mind. Is how do you be powerful and also feel like you can be either feminine or beautiful in a way that feels authentic to you?
And how do you balance, and I especially remember this when I was younger and I was in a very conservative, I would say, work environment, the whole like, "Oh, is my neckline too low? Is my skirt too short?" Like, and I think that comes up a lot of times where then women get paranoid, so then everything is like turtlenecks, long dresses, or whatever it is. So how do you kind of balance that piece of the femininity of not feeling like, "Oh, these men are checking me out now because my skirt's too short?"
I think that if you're thinking it, you're not doing it.
Yeah,
I always will say to my clients, they're like, "Is this too much?" And da, da, da. I'm like, "Can you hand that over to me? Because the fact that you are concerned about being too much is you're overcorrecting
interesting.
and you're probably doing it too much." Where there's clients that I have to be like, "Okay, we need to tone this down a little bit." So just know if you're thinking that, you probably don't have to worry about it. It's the
Fair.
people that aren't thinking about
Yeah.
it. But it's all the great thing is our clothes are sending all different types of messages. So I will say, like, what's the one focus thing that you're going to be? So I know, like in banking, like you can not wear a neckline, but your shirt could be as your skirt could be as short as you want. But it's
Interesting.
always like let's pick the one thing.
Yep.
So it's really that focus on what's the thing that's going to be a little bit more feminine, not like I'm going to wear 5-inch heels and a low coat shirt and this and this and this. It's like what's the one thing that's the softening.
Right. That makes sense. I know you work a lot with executives. So from like an executive, from a leadership standpoint, like what do you focus on with women to have them have that presence when they walk into the room and just sort of show up and have that confidence, but then also, again, just not wearing all black boring clothing to sort of stand out and own their own image.
The first thing that we really do is discuss like what their values are and what they want to be known for because your clothes are sending a message whether you like it or not before you even realize it. Like Princeton just did a study like first impressions are now formed in 1/10 of a second. When I like did
Wow.
my image coaching classes 10 years ago, it was 10 seconds. You have 7 to 10 seconds to make a first impression. But now with our lovely cell phones and you think about how we scroll through
Oh,
social media, that's the amount of time span that we have to decide if this is someone that we want to pay attention to or if we're going to go and look at our phone or be distracted by the 7,000 other things. So it's really about like what is that first thing that I want people to think or feel about me when they interact with me, and then have your wardrobe represent that. So
hmm.
a lot of my clients really want to come across as an authentic leader, or they want to come across as someone who is sophisticated or someone who is very, very innovative. So we quickly will figure out what are those visual cues that we could make sure that their clothing is sending. So that first step I would say is just to really know that your clothing is sending a message and like what is that narrative that we want to have there. And the interesting thing that typically happens is I'll explain typically their narrative that they want is the opposite of wearing all black.
Yeah, that
Is
makes sense.
wearing all black. So there's a reason why there's black tie weddings. There's a reason why judges wear black. Like judges wear all black because they're not supposed to have an opinion. There's black tie weddings because you're supposed to be on your best behavior. Black puts up walls. Color creates connection.
Ooh.
So when you're kind of like, oh, I'm a leader that speaks about authenticity and really being in community and having conversations, but I'm not showing up as that person. And they're like, okay, cool. Now what do I do? So it's really about like, what's that first thing? And then we really focus on that and then sort of iterate from there.
Oh, I love that. And I'm 100% guilty. I definitely had a lot of black going on in my closet. One time I went to a local boutique and Margaret, we actually did an episode with her early on. And she's like, I picked out stuff and she's like, seriously, stop with your black. She was like, you're done. And then, she was great and she helped me to sort of get outside my comfort zone. And she picked up colors and clothes that I wouldn't have necessarily thought of. But then I was like, no, wait, yes, I like this. I feel comfortable. And it just kind of was like we get so stuck and we find one style, and well, at least I do that, and then I'll just buy, multiples of it. So sometimes it's having that outside perspective who can be like, "Hi, what are you doing? Let's try this, purple, this blue." And I guess also part of that too is what colors look good on you. I know play
Mhm.
into that. So it's like I think we just don't think about clothing
Because you
enough.
have a million other things to think about. Like
Right.
it's really interesting because the reason when I kind of will ask clients, like, how did we get to wearing all this black? And it's normally like, I need one less decision to make. And
Ah,
when I start going into my closet and trying things on, there's so much friction that it's easier to grab hold of that. But then knowing that it's not sending the right message. So, what I help clients with is let's create your own brand.
hmm,
So, let's make wearing the 3 colors be easier than picking out that black because you know how to wear the colors. You know the emotions that the colors are evoking. It actually is going to be easier for you to do that than to fall back into the black. And then with also knowing this is the message that it's sending and this is who I am and what I want to be known for, is also making it so it feels really methodical
Mm,
and specific so it doesn't feel like this like heavy thing.
that's awesome. So just take your typical corporate businesswoman. What do you splurge on, and what are bargain items? And like you're kind of like reset your closet. Like what's the system? Like how do you even approach that without, going out and spending thousands of dollars to
Well,
reset?
the first thing is that so it's super, super interesting is most clients come to me and they're like, "Oh, I have to throw away my whole entire closet. I hate it." Da, 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 da. But actually, you're not as bad as you think you are. Like you usually know what colors look good on you. You may not always gravitate towards them, and black fees easier. And you also sort of have this concept of what flatters you. It's just you haven't been doing it in a
Mm,
way that's strategic. So it's like you buy one shirt and you always wear it with the same pants. You haven't been pushed out of it. So I would say the first step is always like, let's just do the branding. And the way that I approach that with my clients is we do it from like consider it done. So like, what's your big audacious goal? How does that woman show up? So if you're like, you know what, I want to be in the C-suite, or I want to be a professional speaker, or I want my boss's job. Like, how does she show up? Because she doesn't show up being reactive and twisting herself into a pretzel and taking 3 hours to pack for a business trip. Like, let's paint the picture. Let's put together what are the tangible things that are associated. Let's figure out in your closet what speaks to that,
mm,
and then where are the gaps. And so typically when I work with a client, they typically like are, let's say, like 75% there. I
mm.
help figure out, where are the, big gaping holes, and then what are the things that we need to be doing to elevate what they're already doing. So maybe it's like a power piece or something that feels like a little bit more statementy than they would typically wear, or something that's tying it all together like a common thread. So it's hard to say like these are the three things that you should have, because that's where I feel like we end up with a closet full of white button downs and trench coats that none of us wear.
Right.
So it really comes to like what things am I utilizing, and what things do I really need to enhance what I have that's setting that right message.
That makes sense. And maybe it was just my switch in industries. Like I said, when I first, the first 15 years of my career was very like professional dress skirts and nylons and tights and all that fun stuff. And then when I switched to the restaurant food industry and franchising, it was much more casual. So
Mhm.
making that shift to, and I think some of it's just kind of timing, right? Like I would have never wore jeans back in the day to work, but now that was acceptable. So when it comes to that, like a little bit more of a casual environment, how do you even approach that? Like, how do you, in business casual, nothing panics me more than when I see an invite to an event and it says business casual. How do you approach that?
The reason why business casual feels hard is because there is no real definition for it. Like it's, guys have you wear polos and a khaki, or
Yep.
you wear this and that. And for women, it's a little bit different. And then there's this like trying to compensate. But what the reason why it feels hard is that we feel complete in that formal
Mm,
look. So like that feels polished, that feels sophisticated to us. When we go out of it, we feel frumpy and sloppy, and that's the word, or dated or matronly,
sure.
and that's like the opposite of what we want to do. So we need to figure out what are your benchmarks for polished and pulled together.
Mm,
So you could still feel like you are elevated and putting your best foot forward, even if you're wearing something that's a little bit more casual. And for each person, it's different. So some of my clients like really feel like their outfit is complete when maybe they are wearing a blazer. So they're going to wear jeans and a blazer. Or maybe they feel like they're pulled together when everything's monochromatic or super coordinated, or they're wearing a nice handbag. So it's also like a little bit of knowing what is those things that feel really polished. The other way that I always say to approach business casual in a way that you feel like you're quote unquote wearing the right thing is through juxtaposition. So if you're someone who really likes wearing a blazer and that feels polished for you, maybe you're going to pair it with either like tennis sneakers, or
mm,
you're going to pair it with a t-shirt, or you're going to pair it with jeans. Or if you're someone who's like, you know what, I really like wearing heels, then like you could take off that third piece and wear the blouse. So I would say playing with formal versus informal is going to give a really nice balance in
mm.
there.
I like that. Yeah, sometimes I definitely have done that because it's like, well, then it can go either way. If you're not really sure how other people are going to be dressed up and you don't want to feel like you're underdressed or overdressed, that's kind of a nice hybrid, I think, from an approach.
But here's the thing, and just like, not to call you out because it's what everyone else is wearing. Why we so care what everyone else is
Oh,
wearing?
totally. Yeah, you're
Because
not
we're
calling me
afraid
out.
we
That's
can
true.
get the memo and whatever. But that's why I love the work that I do. Because when you have your own brand and your own aesthetic, you don't care what everyone else is wearing. You're wearing the right thing for you. So, like, I have clients that crave to be the most overdressed person in the room. They're like, that is me. That is my brand. I am so polished. I am so this. I'm Miss Fancy Pants and I don't care. And if that bothers someone, that's their problem, not mine. But they've done the work to get there.
Yeah.
Where someone would be, I'm so sorry that I'm wearing this. And then you immediately take your power. And then I have other clients that are like, I don't give a crap. I'm wearing sneakers.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Like, and that is their brands. Like, think about like Mel Robbins.
Yeah.
Mel Robbins got to the sneakers because she was standing on a stage and she was supposed to go speak on a stage and her heel broke and she went into a store. They did not have the right shoes for her. So she's like, screw it. I'm wearing sneakers on the stage.
That's awesome.
And that became her brand.
Yeah. With anybody who's stood on a stage, you want comfortable shoes on to begin with because standing in one spot for a long time is the wrong shoes on is literally torture. That's
Right.
so funny.
Exactly. So like be you, because here's what ends up happening. If you were dressing for someone else's standard, you're in a room that you probably don't want to be in.
Mm.
Like, clothes are a magnet. Have your people find you. If you are like love leopard and all of that stuff, your leopard ladies are going to go find you. If like I used to do this all the time, I remember having this internal dialogue with me. I was going to speak at a law firm and I have this like leopard pink blazer and I had it on and I took it off. And I'm like, if they're not going to take me seriously, because they are a white glove law firm, because I'm wearing a leopard blazer, then they're not going to listen to a word that I am saying anyway, and I'm not meant for them, and I'm not here to go find them another navy blue suit. So let them have them log off of this
Right.
before it even starts. That's the standard.
This is who I am. I love that so much. That's so true. And you're right. I think I've gotten better at that with age and even probably as I had higher positions. But man, I remember that at the beginning being so panicked about being dressed wrong, like in those
Because
situations. So
we were shamed.
yeah.
Someone was shamed at some point in time. Or
Yeah.
not us, then someone around us.
And
So we
there's nothing worse than when you wore an outfit that you thought was good, but you're just not comfortable in it. Like you felt like you're doing it to fit in, and whether it's not your style, maybe it's too big, too tight, whatever. Like there's nothing worse than that feeling of just sitting there and not being confident because you're uncomfortable. Like you don't feel right. So yeah, let's avoid that as much as possible. So speaking of casual, I want to also talk about this is obviously branding and presence is just and how you show up. Let's talk about virtual meetings because I
Mhm.
think that obviously over the last 5 years we're up to where that has become so commonplace. And I remember early on in the COVID days and even after people would show up for meetings like not the way they'd show up to work, right? Like ponytail on top of your head, hot mess, like sweatshirt, hoodie, like just not how you would show up in the office. And it was kind of like, okay, how do we handle this, right? Don't I be like, dude, show up to work like you show
Mhm.
up at the office? Like how if we want to have that good brand and that good presence, even through all the virtual meetings that many of us sit through, what's your recommendation for that?
It's funny. I reposted something on LinkedIn. A woman fired someone because they were wearing a hoodie, and they had multiple warnings, and it was just sort of like it was the straw that broke the camel's back. But here's the thing: we all need to realize the most important person we get dressed for is ourselves. Is that going through that process of figuring out what you need to happen throughout the day, how you're going to show up as your best version of yourself. Like, do it for you. Like, put perfume on, wear shoes, like, go and play full out. And then the other thing, also, besides doing it for you, is that if you were someone who only goes into the office maybe once or twice a week or once or twice a quarter, like, this is your FaceTime and this is your showing someone that I am coming here and I have a full day's worth of work. If you look like you didn't take a shower, like, people are going to
Right.
think that you literally were playing with your kids 2 seconds before
Yep.
you hopped on that call. So really being like, I'm using my wardrobe to show people that I'm taking serious. Like, I'm telling myself that I'm taking myself seriously. And I'm not saying you need to go sit in your house in a blazer, but that just means like being polished and refined and also having that presence that you really are wanting to take up space and really being someone who, is coming to work and also being more magnetic. So
Right.
think simple things, like I have a few clients that what we do is we have like a few go-to Zoom outfits
Mm.
that they feel good. We know that they like look good on camera, so they're like in good colors, because you think wearing black in person is bad, wearing black on a camera is the worst thing. You look like you got absolutely no sleep. So wearing maybe like a jewel tone, if you are wearing a print, making sure that it's like a bolder print, like you can get someone real dizzy real quick by wearing a polka dot or something with some weird stripes, and just being really specific about like your necklines. Like you can look
Mm.
real naked real fast if you're
Right.
wearing a V-neck. So just kind of those three things is like color, print, neckline. Like though, like just thinking about those before hopping on a Zoom is going to really solidify and have more of a presence for your virtual wardrobe.
That makes sense. And lighting too, right? I think that's such a big piece of it. And as I said, too, with my little light on, it makes me look a little lighter and brighter. I think it's important that, I look like I'm awake and paying attention, whether it's recording a podcast or on a meeting. I think it's just feeling that you're here and present. You don't want to give people the impression that you're just disengaged or it's not important. I think that's the balance.
Right.
And it's funny too, because now that I work 100% from home, I'm like, some days if I don't have any calls, I definitely am like super casual. But then I feel like I'm sitting there in my hoodie and my yoga pants, and I don't feel as, I don't know, professional, or I'm not sure. Like I feel like if I get a little bit more dressed up because I have to leave the house, then I feel like I'm more in my mode. And
Mhm.
that's just me. Everyone's
No,
different,
but
but
there's studies done that if you go through the motions of getting dressed and putting your clothes on, that you perform better. You're going to ask the harder question.
mm,
Like we act, like people don't realize this. Like clothes are the only physical form of like manifestation.
mm,
Like we've all heard like dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. But no, like it's not performative. It's like I'm taking myself seriously. I've taken the time to pick my clothes in and feel good about myself. If you've gone through that process in the morning of like, I am someone who works hard, who takes myself seriously. When you're having a difficult conversation with a colleague, you're going to do the thing that feels much more aligned with you if you're not in sweatpants.
mm. That makes sense. Okay, good. Then I'm not just making that up. All right. So tell me about your style code.
Yes. So the style code really is just your own personal brand for getting dressed. So it really is like, it feels like getting dressed is all over the place. And this is really a methodology for you to know what to wear in each and every situation, and that you're wearing the quote unquote right thing for you. So it's going through the process of like, what makes me feel confident in my clothes? What colors do I wear? What fits and flatters me? What are my outfit formulas? And then also just knowing like, I'm speaking on a stage, I'm wearing this. I'm doing a Zoom call, this is what I'm wearing. It takes that like friction out of what to put on for those things, and just know that you're wearing the right thing in each and every situation.
I love that because let's count how many times I've stood in my closet and be like, what am I going to wear? What do I want to deal with? Like you just kind of get stuck in these ruts of not knowing what to grab, or I just grab the same three things sometimes too. So it's kind of balancing that.
Or saying that your closet, that I have nothing in my closet and I need to go shopping. That's the other one, is
Right.
like, we need to figure out a system to make our closet work for us, because you've spent enough money.
Sure.
And then when you do go shopping, it should be something to enhance and elevate, not just buy the same thing that you
Mm,
already own in, a different, not different. It's really just the same thing. Let's be
right. So
real.
how much do we let trends influence what we buy from season to season professionally?
Not sort of zero, but when you know what your style code is and how you add interest, you can quickly look at something and be like, ooh, that feels like part of my brand, or I'm excited about that, or this is how I would do it, bring it in. I think the reason why trends exist, and like so this is what I went to school for. I went to school for fashion merchandising. And the reason why a trend exists is that so every 15 days we could be selling someone different, and it
Mm,
keeps you on this hamster wheel in there. But when you have a strong sense of self, you aren't being like swayed. I need to wear lime green pants tomorrow, sort of thing. So once you have that, you could be like, oh, that feels like that would be something I'm intrigued by. Because the way that trends work is you see them 5 to 7 times, and then there's a FOMO of I don't own it, because it
mm,
makes it feel familiar to you really, really quickly. And then it's like, oh, I'm not part of the trend. But once you have this internal dialogue to be like, oh, I really like that color, or that's never going to look good on me, it's a very quick cut or dry. I think the women that I work with, they don't want to look dated. They
Oh,
want to look up to date and
sure.
current. So it's a way to like, how do we add things to our wardrobe that we can wear for a few seasons, but are a little bit more through the lens of like updating than trendy? And that's where I think that it's either like, let's buy something from Zara because you know what, I'm going to buy it and I'm going to go through it real quick, but I have all 5 things coming up, I'm going to wear it. Or like, you know what, like I actually really like this and it isn't a color that I would enjoy wearing. Maybe I will buy a $200 blazer in it.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. Is there any pattern or texture that you think is just underused by senior women?
I love leather.
Oh.
And I know it's like a lot of times, like it's my clients are like they get a little bit like, I don't know, but it
Like,
like
am I
it
going clubbing?
like they're like, I can't wear leather. Like that's not allowed. And but it can be wear it in such like a sophisticated
Mm,
way. And I love the way that leather is forgiving, but also has some great structure to it. So like I love a leather blazer or I
mm,
love a leather pencil skirt. To me, most of my clients are like in automotive or an aerospace industries. Like they're in like very technological, like innovative spaces. So having that like interest in there
sure.
like shows like, oh, I know what's going on. And so I personally think that it's underutilized. I also think that like some things that are like silk and are a little bit more feminine are a great way to add like some interest in there. And I'm always a fan of like tweed because
Oh.
I like the being able to have multiple colors in something. And really like I feel like there's certain like blazers you could wear like 15 different ways because of the few different colors that are in there, but not like old lady tweed. Like,
The new cooler tweed. I know what you
right.
mean. I do have one of the yes, I have one of those blazers. Is there any items that you think instantly level up authority for women?
I think that wearing things monochromatic
Mm,
and not feeling like you always have to wear that blazer. Like I think women feel like blazer security blanket. So I would say if you could find ways to feel like you have a complete outfit without necessarily that third piece, sure. If you're leading a meeting, like that's your power piece, wear it. But I would say like the monochromatic or like colored pants, because that's
mm,
another huge thing that maybe you've branched out from the black when it comes to a top, but you're so dead set on your black pants. So, like one of the another things that I quickly do with my clients is like, let's get some burgundy pants. Let's get some hunter
right.
green pants. Like this season, like brown is really, really big. Like so, to kind of start introducing some colors in some other ways, I think is a really strong, powerful look.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. Melanie, this has been so awesome. So if people want to connect with you and work on their brand and their image and how to show up, how can they find out more?
Yes, so I am on all the places. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I am on TikTok. I have a free masterclass that really
Awesome.
walks you through that style code, really figuring out what are those key components and how to figure them out for yourself. And the one thing that I know about all of this work is like definitely go check out the masterclass. It is amazing. However, having someone walk you through this process and stretching you is more powerful than you ever realize because there is enough information on TikTok, on YouTube, whatever thing, you could all figure this out yourself. Like, this is not like if you wanted to, but you need the implementation and the tweaking and the feedback and making it you. And the all of the information is actually really overwhelming. You need the right information for you in a way that feels a little stretchy but not too scary. And that's really where I come in and I do like those little like baby steps and that
Right.
like accountability and like let's try this next, let's try this next. And that is really that beautiful process of you finding yourself through your style.
I love that. And I think there's so many things that we get too close to, and this is one of them. I think you're too close to it. You're too in your closet. You need that outside perspective, someone who at least helps you make you take a step back and like, okay,
Right.
let's look at
Because
this
by
from a
the
different
way,
perspective.
women are so self-critical. Like
Oh,
you are so
totally.
it's like I'll have a client and they're literally going on and on and I'm like, I don't notice your stomach. I'm like, I'm saying this with so
Right.
much love, but you've just went on for 3 minutes about your stomach and I don't see it. Like No one
So
is
true.
looking at
Yep.
it.
So true. We are very critical. That's so good. Well, thank you so much for being here. We'll link everything on our website, and this makes me want to go check out my closet and give you a call.
My pleasure.
Thank you. The importance of building your brand continues to be reinforced. And as Melanie shared, people form an opinion about us in 1/10 of a second. One of the quickest ways to influence and start building your personal brand is by being intentional of the wardrobe you are wearing. Because as we know, if you don't build your brand, somebody else will do it for you. For more leadership development for women and career growth, please subscribe to this podcast and follow us on Instagram. Keep claiming the space you've earned and stay loud and lifted.